Hey, what is going on, you weeping wingle? A bunch of new cards just dropped. A new set got revealed, and it's going to be dropping between NAIC and Worlds for us. It'll be coming out in like 3 weeks over in Japan, and honestly, the set looks pretty impactful. We haven't seen every single card yet, and already it looks like there's going to be some changes happening to the metagame for sure. But before we jump into it, I'm sure y'all are wondering, Azul, where did you get that dope shirt? And the answer, as always, is qualitypatchdesigns.com. They got a ton of Pokemon merch over there, not just t-shirts. So check them out. Use code AzulGG as well to get yourself a discount. And as always, a link will be in the description. All right, let's just start with the first card here. We got the Superior EX, 320 HP. It is a Stage 2 Pokemon. The Royal Cheer ability. Attacks used by your Pokemon do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, and it isn't limited to one Royal Cheer per turn. So theoretically, you could have multiple of these in play. However, you probably wouldn't be attacking with it because the attack is a little bit underwhelming. It's actually not that hard to set up to attack with it, but even if you were attacking with it, the Grass Order for a Grass in 3 colors energy does 150 damage. You may search your deck for up to 3 cards and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So getting any 3 cards out of your deck is pretty good, but of course there is hand disruption cards in the format. Unfair Stamp, Iono, Judge, whole bunch of them, and only doing 150 damage. I guess 170 if you have 1 Superior up set up. But if you have 3 Superior set up, you're only doing 210 damage, which doesn't even KO a Raging Bolt. You can KO stuff like Pheasantipity and Ogerpon, but yeah, this is a pretty weak card overall, I feel like. We got the Victini here with the V-Force attack, 120 damage. If you have less than 5 bench Pokemon, this attack does nothing. So nothing crazy, but a new 1-prize attacker for fire decks to utilize might be better than the other options we have right now. The other main option people have been using is the Chi-Yu. That does 50 plus 90 damage if your opponent took a knockout during the last turn. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how often this gets used. We'll definitely see it pop up now and then, though, I feel like. We got the Kyurem EX here, 230 HP, basic EX Pokemon. This one's interesting. It's nothing too crazy, but it's got that Blizzard Burst attack for a water, and a colorless. It does 130 damage, and then it does 10 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon for each prize card your opponent has taken. So maybe some potential for like a kind of a closer attacker in a spread deck. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Overall, this card isn't anything crazy powerful, but we've never seen an attack like this, like a spread attack based on how many prize cards your opponent's drawn. I don't think anyways. I can't think of one. Maybe it was just never good. But to me, as far as I can remember, this is a unique attack we've never seen before. And it's interesting more so than is it good. We'll see how much this actually sees play. Moving right along, we do have the electric with the Dynamotor ability. That's right, Dynamotor's back. This is the 3rd time, and actually we had it pretty recently with the Flaffy, but there was actually an electric with 90 HP with Electric Ball that did 50 damage and Fighting Weakness and 2 retreat cost way back in I don't even remember. I played back then. I started playing in 2009. I think this card was relevant in like 2013, 2014, 2015. I actually just don't remember, but it did the exact same thing, had the Dynamotor ability. Once on your turn, you may attach a Lightning Energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. It says Lightning Energy, but the only energy that will be in our discard pile that will be Lightning Energy will be Basic Energy. Even stuff like Reversal Energy isn't a Lightning Energy unless it's attached to a Pokemon, so nothing too crazy you're going to be able to do with this besides just accelerating basic Lightning Energy, but that's pretty good for a couple decks in the format. I'm looking at stuff like Miraidon, or even like the Joltik box would probably want to take use of this card. I guess like Miraidon / Joltik box is kind of the same deck. I guess it depends on like, are we going to be using Joltik to get energy in play? Are we going to be using Electric Generator? And with Electric coming back, I think Electric Generator might be the way we go, but it could just be Joltik box and you'd still just play an Electric with the Dynamotor in there anyways. And then the other use case for this card would potentially be with Raging Bolt. I think that seems a little slow, but maybe it would just be kind of like an addition to the deck, like a 2/2 Electric, move away from the Noctowl. Maybe that would work. Not sure. It doesn't seem ridiculously good or necessary in there. It seems like still just keeping around like the Ogerpon plus Grass Energy combination would be better, but I don't know. I guess you could find a home for it in there as well. And it does have a Stage 2 evolution, but this isn't anything crazy. Thunder Fangs for 60 damage for a Lightning Flip, a coin of heads. Your opponent's active is now paralyzed. And then Buzz Flip for Lightning, colorless. Flip for coins. We do 100 damage for each heads. So nothing crazy there with the Electros. Let's skip past a couple of these. Oops, there is the Zekrom EX. Once again, like the Kyurem, nothing crazy, but it'll probably see some play in some Lightning decks for sure. 230 HP, basic EX Pokemon. Slash for 2 colors does 50, nothing crazy. Voltage Burst for Lightning colors does 130 damage. plus 50 more damage for each prize card your opponent has taken. So in the end game, after our opponent has drawn, like, I don't know, 4 prize cards. We're doing 330 damage, which is not bad. Like, that's decent. At 1 KO is basically anything relevant in the format. And then we do 30 damage to ourselves. So solid lightning endgame attacker, stuff like Miraidon. Maybe the Jaltic box will include this as like a one of, but nothing wild. Up next, we got the Air Balloon, and I rarely care if cards are good or bad. I am not a huge fan of Air Balloon. We've had this card before, exactly the exact same way. The retreat cost of the Pokemon this card is attached to is 2 less. Yeah, I rarely care or think too much about game design and if a card is good or bad until I've really played with it. But I've played with Air Balloon before. I played with Floatstone before, and if anyone is unfamiliar with Floatstone just said the Pokemon this was attached to had free retreat. And looking back on those cards and kind of seeing what we have right now with Rescue Board, I really like the power of Rescue Board and how it's kind of feels more balanced. Like, you still include it in decks with Pokemon that have 2 retreat costs, and you have to sacrifice a little bit more to move those Pokemon. You have to put the Rescue Board on your Revavroom and then find an energy to attach and retreat it, but it doesn't feel terrible to have to do that, and you can still play around the Rescue Board being in your deck and utilizing it in that way. Air Balloon, Floatstone, they start to become kind of catch-all type cards where it just does everything for you, and you don't have to think very hard. You just include it in your deck because it's just kind of broken. Now, it's not as bad as Floatstone giving anything free retreat, but most Pokemon have 1 to 2 retreat costs. So Rescue Board was already making most things mobile, and now we have Air Balloon that is going to make almost everything mobile. Yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of that idea of these kind of catch-all cards where you don't have to work very hard to be able to utilize them in your deck. So honestly, not a huge fan of Air Balloon returning, not because I don't think it'll be good. I think it'll be too good, but it's not a huge aspect of the game, and it's not going to make things feel miserable to play. It's just, I feel like there could be a little bit more depth to that aspect of the game, and Air Balloon is kind of taking that away from the game, which is unfortunate. Professor's Research is getting a reprint, but it still has the G regulation mark, which means it will still rotate with next year's rotation. I think this is a pretty strong indication. If the previous researches that came out not having the I regulation mark, then this should basically be the solidifying of Professor's Research will be rotating with next rotation, because there's no reason that they wouldn't give it the I regulation at this point. I feel like, well, who knows? Maybe the set before rotation, they'll throw Research back in there, and hopefully that doesn't happen. We'll see, though. I don't hate Research. I just like seeing things kind of shake up from time to time. And initially, when they made it clear that they're going to be keeping Research around for a while, I was someone who was like, let's just see how it goes. I've seen how it goes, and I don't hate it, but I don't mind things getting shaken up and Research kind of rotating. So I'm kind of excited for that to happen, to be honest. Up next, we have the Prism Energy, another reprint here. Of course, this is based on the black and white era, so they are reprinting a lot of cards from that era. The Victini is basically a reprint. The Electric is a reprint. The Prism Energy here is also a reprint. It provides a colorless energy, but if it's attached to a basic Pokemon, it provides every type of energy at a single time. So basically a Rainbow Energy for basic Pokemon, and unlike Luminous Energy, which we have right now, which can be attached to any Pokemon, you can put 2 Rainbow Energy on, say, the Victini, and they both are still going to count as Fire Energy. Up next, we have the Emboar with a super powerful ability, the Inferno Fandango. As often as you like during your turn, you may attach a Fire Energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon. We've seen this exact Emboar before, except the HP and damage have been increased for the Emboar. They weren't increased for the Electric, but they have increased them for the Emboar here, which is interesting. But yeah, it's basically Baxcalibur, but for Fire Energy. I can't think of, besides the Reshiram that's coming up that we're going to talk about here in a second, but Reshiram really isn't a main attacker for a deck. I can't think of a great combination for the Emboar. Maybe AzulGG EX is something that I've thought of. AzulGG EX has always seemed very powerful, but has never felt very good, because getting a bunch of energy on it has always been difficult. But there could be something there, I guess, with the AzulGG EX, possibly. Here is that Reshiram EX. It's got that Blaze Burst attack for Fire, colorless 130, plus 50 more damage for each prize card your opponent has taken. Then you discard an energy from this Pokemon, and also has the Slash for colorless for 50. So the exact same card as Zekrom, but it's Fire type and attacks for Fire Energy. But nothing crazy, once again, just a solid closer attacker in Fire decks. Nothing wild. Up next, we do have the Samurott here, which is probably the weakest of the 3 starter Pokemon here. The Strong Currents, once on your turn, you may switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. If you do, your opponent switches their active with one of their bench Pokemon. Nothing crazy. Energy Slash here for a water that's attacked as 50 more damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon. This is a stage 2. The way you'd get a ton of energy and play on this thing is with Baxcalibur. That's 2 stage 2s. Yeah, I'm not blown away by this card at all. It does not seem particularly strong. I I was going to try and say something else about it, but really there is nothing else to really say. I guess you could maybe play like Samurott, Baxcalibur, and Chien-Pao, because like you do get to switch your active Pokemon with this, so you can like put Chien-Pao in your active, search water energy out of your deck, and then but you could just knock them out with Chien-Pao at that point. Yeah, this card's terrible. It might be like a 101 tech card in Stage 2 decks at some point to play around stuff that like stall trapping stuff in the active, like the Water Pawn or the Maractus, or like if something like Snorlax gets reprinted, not reprinted, but has a similar ability. And this could be included as some decks as like a 101 in like rare candy decks. So you can constantly move your active Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. But besides that, I don't see this thing seeing much play at all. I'm going to go ahead and skip past the Stoutland here. They did reprint Energy Retrieval, so that will be in the format for a while. It has that eye regulation mark, unlike the Research. Put 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your hand. Very good card. Seen it for a while. Nothing crazy. We got the Hilda here, which is pretty powerful. Or should I say it's pretty powerful? It's like another cool situational supporter. It's not going to be like a Research or an Iono, of course. Search your deck for 1 evolution Pokemon and 1 energy card. Reveal them and put them to your hand. Then shuffle your deck. So solid card, I would say, for sure. Nothing crazy. We do have the Ignition Energy here. This one is... It's not that crazy. It's pretty good, though. It's pretty cool. And this is what I was talking about with the Superior EX. You could theoretically charge up the Superior EX with 1 Grass and 1 Ignition Energy, because the Ignition Energy provides 3 colors energy when it's attached to an evolution Pokemon, and then you discard it at the end of your turn. If it's attached to any other Pokemon, it only provides a single colorless energy. But the evolution Pokemon, it provides 3. So the deck I'm most excited to try out with these new cards, namely the Hilda and the Ignition Energy, is Slacking EX. Slacking EX lost the Double Turbo Energy and was okay. It felt better when I had Double Turbo Energy, and the way you can build it right now is through like Counter Gain and charge it up over multiple turns. But if you can just like hit 3 to 4 times with the Slacking, the game is basically over at that point, and that's what Ignition Energy can do for you. So I'm excited to play some Slacking with the Ignition Energy. There definitely is something there, I think. So that's what I'm most excited for. And that's all the cards that have been revealed so far that are worth talking about. I did skip over some of the ones here still because they're not great. There is still more to come. I don't know how many other cards we're going to be able to expect from this set. I don't know, 86 cards. It's like 86. It's like 2 separate sets, like 86 and 86. I guess that what it's supposed to be. So it's like 152 or something like that. I don't know how many other really impactful cards we'll see. We've already seen like the Electric, the Emboar, some of the trainer cards and energy cards are going to be really impactful as well. Like I said, this will be the set between NAIC and Worlds. Last year it was Shrouded Fable, and Shrouded Fable did change up quite a bit because we got Kyurem to add to the Regidrago V-Star deck, but that's like a single card. We also got Dusknoir, but Dusknoir actually didn't show up to Worlds basically at all. It was played in Charizard, and that's about it. I think this will be a higher impact set than what Shrouded Fable was for the World Championships this year. Well, of course, we'll have to wait and see on that, but I'm excited for some new cards as always. We're a little bit of ways away from these as always as well, but let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.